I worked myself into the ground, pushing myself until I collapsed and ended up on an IV drip, all to secure the first round of funding for our company. The moment it succeeded, my wife, the company president, couldn't wait to celebrate. But it was her male assistant who jumped up first, grinning to toast me, "Sincere, thank you for giving up your VP position for me. I'll manage the company well in your place. I'll also take good care of those projects you were handling." I froze, staring at my wife, Victoria, in disbelief. She didn't contradict him. Instead, she coolly produced a termination letter. "I'm doing what's best for the company, Sincere," she said coldly. "Now that we're heading for an IPO, we need fresh blood. You're just not suitable anymore." After I stormed out in anger, the assistant, Ethan Miller, updated his social media feed. The photo showed him looking triumphant, while my wife, Victoria Ashton, beamed indulgently as she pinned the vice president's badge onto his lapel. His caption read, "The boss is beautiful, kind, and capable. What more could a husband ask for with a wife like this?" I just gave a cold smirk and commented, "If you like her so much, she's all yours." Chapter 1. Not 3 minutes after I posted the comment, Victoria called, chewing me out. "Sincere, are you crazy? Deliberately trying to make Ethan look bad. He's just a kid, he's sensitive, you actually made him cry. You get back to the company right now and apologize to him." I said nothing. She paused, then her voice turned even colder. "I told you Ethan is the Sterling family heir. Stop making unreasonable trouble, or I'll cut off your sister's medical funding." I quirked my lips into a sarcastic smile. Married to Victoria for 7 years, and now she was threatening me using my sister Annie, who suffered from chronic leukemia. If it weren't for the critical IPO stage and my frantic search for investors, I would have arranged Annie's bone marrow transplant long ago. Victoria was convinced Ethan was the mysterious heir to the wealthy Sterling Corporation, simply because she'd once seen him get out of the Sterling company car. She had no idea that the real Sterling heir, Julian Sterling, had been trying to recruit me for his own company. I'd even discreetly inquired there was no Ethan Miller in their family. I'd tried warning her several times, but she accused me of being jealous of Ethan's background, youth, and good looks, calling me naive. "Are you deaf, Sincere? If you're not back here apologizing in 10 minutes, just you wait," Victoria's threats continued. Then Ethan's tearful, pitiful voice came through. "Vicky, I know Sincere is upset. If he wants the VP position that badly, I'll just let him have it." Let him have it indeed. I hung up and immediately contacted Julian Sterling. "Mr. Sterling, I accept your offer to join your company. However, could I possibly get an advance on my salary? I need it for my sister's medical treatment." Victoria always said we were family, and talking about money strained relationships. As a result, my salary was just a $2,000 monthly allowance on a family account. I was barely scraping by each month with no savings. As if on cue, my phone pinged with a notification. The limit on the family account had been reduced to $500. A minute later, another notification, reduced to $50. Julian replied quickly, "I've already asked my assistant to arrange for your sister's transfer. Don't worry. It's to a hospital owned by my family, much better than Metropolitan General." Without further hesitation, I grabbed a cab to the hospital to see my sister. "Annie, Big Brother's finished with the company stuff. I'm here to keep you company." Hearing my voice, my sister looked up, surprised. I hadn't seen her in half a month. Dressed in a hospital gown, her little face was pale. She was listlessly touching the electronic keyboard I'd bought her to pass the time. My heart warmed, but the next second, I froze. Her right pinky finger was limp and dangling, as if someone had deliberately broken it. Before I could ask, a group of medical staff burst into the room and started moving Annie's bed out without a word. A nurse sighed softly. Her sister-in-law cut off the medical payments and told us to kick her out. How could anyone be so cruel? The poor girl. Behind the medical staff, 2 familiar figures slowly approached. It was Victoria and Ethan. Victoria wore a smug expression. "Sincere, I knew I'd find you here with a little burden. If you bow and apologize to Ethan right now, promise to be his assistant and help him finish his projects, I'll reluctantly let this go and pay for your sister's treatment." The moment Annie saw Victoria, her pupils contracted, and she scrambled behind me. My face was stone cold. "Victoria," I demanded, "you promised me that if I focused on securing investments, you'd take care of Annie. What happened to her finger?" Victoria touched her nose evasively. Beside her, Ethan couldn't hide the smug satisfaction in his eyes. "Oh, Sincere, you didn't know?" he said gloatingly. "Last week was the junior piano competition. Your sister and my cousin both qualified. Annie was just too stubborn. Vicky had no choice but to have someone break her finger so my cousin could win first place. You're not mad, are you?" Rage surged in my chest, my head ringing. My parents died in a car accident when I graduated from university, leaving only Annie, who was still an infant. Victoria and I had raised her together like our own child. Annie relied on Victoria so much she was even closer to her than to me, her own brother. And now, just to curry favor with Ethan's cousin, Victoria had resorted to such despicable means, destroying Annie's musical dream. She was only 10 years old. Victoria avoided my furious gaze, clearing her throat. "It's just one finger. It can heal. Sincere, you need to look at the bigger picture." Just as the tension reached its peak, doctors from the Sterling Corporation's hospital arrived. I breathed a sigh of relief and handed Annie over to them. Seeing that I was transferring Annie, Victoria's expression changed. She scoffed, "Sincere, stop putting on a brave front. Can you even afford the transfer fee? You've been living off me for 7 years. If you weren't my husband, do you think you'd even deserve to be in our company? Let me tell you, that finger of your sister's, it secured a $10 million investment commitment from Sterling Corp. Worth it once Ethan's family invests and helps us go public. Considering your sister's contribution, I might reluctantly give you a promotion and a raise. Maybe even take you two on a vacation to relax. You two should consider yourselves lucky. Her act of bestowing great mercy made my stomach churn. I remembered how she had stopped me at the airport years ago, crying, telling me she loved me, begging me to stay and start the company with her, promising she'd be good to me. I gave up my own promising career to build this company with her from scratch. Now, with the IPO in sight, she was exploiting me while using my sister's broken finger as a stepping stone for her own gain, bleeding me dry. The woman before me, blinded by greed, seemed like a complete stranger. My gaze turned frigid, but she had forgotten one crucial thing. Most of the company's current projects relied entirely on my patents. Let's just see, I thought. Which would come first, the phantom funding promised by Ethan Miller, or the collapse of her company after I withdrew my patents? Chapter 2. Seeing my silence, Ethan put on a melancholic expression and tugged at Victoria's sleeve. "Vicky, Sincere is a company stalwart after all. Even if he bullies me and looks down on me, I can understand. My dad said, worst case, I can just resign and go home." Ever since Ethan joined the company 6 months ago, he'd been fixated on opposing me for reasons I couldn't fathom. Hearing him now, anyone would think I was the one bullying subordinates. Victoria stamped her foot, pointing her finger at my nose, enraged. "Sincere, don't choose the hard way. Letting you be Ethan's assistant is already generous. Otherwise, just get out of the company." I gave a cold laugh, ripped off the employee badge I hadn't yet thrown away, and hurled it directly at Ethan, who was enjoying the show. "Then fire me." With that, I followed the Sterling doctors, escorting my trembling sister to the new hospital. Behind me, Victoria deliberately raised her voice. "Ethan, he's ungrateful. Don't mind him. I've specially booked a 5-star hotel for your promotion party. Let's go." The doctors told me they could schedule the bone marrow transplant for the following Monday. 3 days away. I was sitting with Annie, reading her a storybook. My phone dinged. The work communication app popped up a notification. I had been terminated and automatically removed from Victoria's company system. In my chat app, Ethan's profile picture kept popping up with gloating messages. "Sincere, Your office is really spacious. Victoria said she's planning to remove the partition between ours to make it easier for us to communicate. All those project results you were working on? Victoria changed the lead creator's name to mine on all of them. With all that bonus money, I won't even be able to spend it all. Oh, and your shares? They're mine now too. If this had happened before, these provocations would have sent me into a rage, demanding an explanation from Victoria. Now I felt nothing. It grew late. I had intended to stay with Annie, but she sensibly told me to go home and rest. Since I needed ID to check into a hotel, I had no choice but to go back to the apartment to get it. But when I inserted my key into the lock, it wouldn't turn. Just as I thought I might have gone to the wrong place, the door opened from the inside. I stumbled back a step. Ethan stood there in pajamas, a mocking expression on his face. He looked me up and down slowly. "Look what the cat dragged in," he drawled. "Still dare to come back begging for scraps?" From inside, Victoria called out, "Who is it?" Ethan stepped aside, acting like the man of the house. "It's Sincere," he called back with a grin. Turning back to me, he asked, "Sincere, you've been sleeping on the floor at the office working overtime these past few days. I was worried Victoria might be in danger alone at home, so I've been keeping her company. Changed the locks too, you know, to keep thieves out. You're not mad, are you?" Victoria had slowly walked over and plopped down on the sofa. She looked like she'd just showered. The ends of her hair were still damp, darkening her pajamas where they touched her shoulders. I could see they were wearing matching pajamas, but not the set Victoria and I owned. How disgusting. While I had been dreaming of the company going public, hoping Victoria would return to being a homemaker so we could start a family, they had already become this intimate. I always knew Victoria's preference for Ethan wasn't just because she thought he was the sterling heir. Every time she looked at Ethan, her gaze would instantly soften. When Ethan pretended to be sick to slack off, his acting obvious and over the top, Victoria would always fuss over him with genuine anxiety and concern. All the care and attention she once showed me had transformed into this inappropriate affection for Ethan. I had gone from being her cherished partner to yesterday's news. Noticing my gaze fixed on their pajamas, Victoria looked away, clenching her fist and giving a small cough. "Just some silly things the kid bought. Sincere, weren't you shamelessly telling me to fire you this afternoon? Now that you've actually received the termination notice, you finally know to come crawling back? If you knew it would come to this, why were you so stubborn, a 29-year-old kid?" I cut her off directly. "I'm just here to get my things." Victoria finally stood up, but deliberately blocked the doorway, scoffing coldly, clearly intending to stop me. I had no intention of being gentle now. I pushed past her, went into the bedroom, found my ID and documents, and headed straight back out. Victoria's eyes widened. "Stop, where are you going with that ID?" Ethan started putting on a show, crying crocodile tears. "Vicky, Sincere must be angry because I was keeping you company. He's threatening to leave you. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you two wouldn't have fought. I'll resign. I'll never come to your home again, please." Makeup Victoria's face darkened, her tone sharp. "Sincere, haven't you caused enough trouble for one day? For the sake of our 7 years of marriage, I'll give you 2 final choices. Either you work properly as Ethan's assistant and behave yourself," she pointed towards the door, "or you continue making trouble, and we get a divorce. You and that burdensome sister of yours can go sleep on the streets and die out there." Ethan couldn't hide his smirk as he chimed in, "Come on, Sincere, you're 32. Large companies want employees under 30 on average these days. It'll be hard for you to find another job. You should hurry up and apologize to Vicky Victoria. Pleased to have support." Huffed, sincere, scared. "Now, are you the next second?" I whipped out the divorce papers I'd already printed. "Fine, let's get divorced." Victoria's eyebrow twitched. She finally looked me squarely in the eye. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Seeing this, Ethan's eyes darted around, and a grin spread across his face. He stepped in front of Victoria, saying, "Sincere, don't be impulsive the next second." He slapped himself hard across the face. 5 red, swollen fingerprints quickly appeared on his left cheek. Completely blocked from view, Victoria didn't see exactly what happened. Hearing the slap, she pushed Ethan aside by the shoulders. The moment her eyes landed on his swollen cheek, fury flared. She launched herself at me, tearing at my clothes like a madwoman. "Sincere, are you asking for death? How dare you bully Ethan?" I couldn't count how many times I'd been framed like this. Before, I would just endure Victoria's rage, desperately yelling my innocence until my throat was raw, never gaining her trust. Ethan, seeing his trick had worked, looked extremely pleased with himself and mouthed at me, "Serves you right." My eyes grew cold. I forcefully shoved Victoria away. Then I grabbed Ethan by the collar, raised my hand and slapped him hard again across his already swollen face. The force knocked his head to the side, making him stumble backwards. I looked coldly at the stunned Victoria, a smirk playing on my lips. "You said I was bullying him?" "Victoria, open your eyes and look carefully. This is what real bullying looks like, Chapter 3. Now I looked down at Ethan. For the first time, his usually smug eyes showed a trace of fear. But the next second, humiliation and rage consumed him. He turned tearfully to Victoria, looking utterly pitiful. Victoria's heart ached for him unbearably. She pushed me away forcefully, her voice hoarse. "Sincere, I think you really are tired of living. Get out, get out." I threw the divorce papers in Victoria's face. "Sign them or don't, I don't care. I'll file for divorce with my lawyer." Before leaving, I sneered, "Victoria, take a good look at the fingerprints on Ethan's face." Victoria instinctively looked, her expression flickering with confusion. The positions of the 2 sets of fingerprints were opposite, and the sizes were different. I didn't care about her reaction. I took my ID and got a hotel room. I had been utterly exhausted from securing funding for Victoria's company. For the first time in ages, I slept soundly. The next day, I woke up refreshed and clear-headed. Julian Sterling sent me a message, "Sincere, can you start today?" I typed back, of course. But first, I need to stop by my old company to get back what belongs to me. As soon as I stepped into the company building, I saw everyone gathered around Ethan, fussing over him. "VP Miller, it's your first day in charge. Just let me know if you need anything." "VP Miller, what kind of coffee do you like? I'll go get it for you right away." Ethan's face was caked in thick foundation, making his complexion look deathly pale. When he saw me, a look of venom flashed in his eyes. "Isn't this Sincere? What brings you here? Did you forget something?" "Oh, sorry, Sincere. The cleaning lady thought everything in your office was trash and threw it all out." Victoria hurried over when she heard the commotion. Seeing me, she crossed her arms, looking smug. "Sincere, it's too late to beg now. You're not welcome in our company." Seeing this, the other employees glared at me menacingly, taunts flying, "Look who it is. Got fired and still shamelessly crawls back. Doesn't have even a fraction of VP Miller's charisma." Exactly. The new wave replaces the old. Some washed-up old news should know when to disappear. These were the same people who used to eagerly call me Sincere, hoping I'd include them in my projects. People are fickle, only self-interest matters. I stated calmly, "I'm just here to retrieve the patents I licensed to this company." Victoria's pupils contracted. She seemed to have just remembered this issue. She quickly composed herself. "Sincere, don't be ungrateful. We were doing you a favor using those outdated patents of yours. Besides, the company is about to go public. We might even give you a cut later. Even if you don't care about yourself, you should think about that sickly sister of yours." A sarcastic smile touched my lips. "If you look down on them so much, what's the problem if I take them?" "My future shouldn't concern you, President Ashton," Victoria huffed arrogantly. "You can leave, but the patents stay. Sue me if you have the guts. Our entire legal department will fight you. Let's see what happens first. You win the lawsuit or you starve to death." The employees chimed in, looking smug. "Sincere, just be sensible. President Ashton is already being merciful, offering you profit sharing." Luckily, I knew Victoria was utterly shameless and had already prepared a countermeasure. I held up my phone, showing the screen was live streaming. Are you serious? I asked with a smile. This is a critical stage for your company's IPO. Let's show everyone your true colors. Victoria's face changed instantly. She clenched her fists. Gritting her teeth, she forced a smile. Sincere, I was just kidding. Can't you take a joke? You can take the patents. Just turn off the live stream. No need to air our dirty laundry in public. Giving in so easily? I raised an eyebrow and headed towards the server room. Tiny beads of sweat broke out on Ethan's forehead. He uncharacteristically advised, "Vicky, maybe you should reconsider." I was already in the system, revoking the authorization for my patents. Victoria scoffed, pulling out a document haughtily. "Sincere, you're being penny-wise and pound-foolish. Our company has plenty of funding. The wealthy Sterling Corporation is going to invest $10 million. Talented people will be lining up to offer us their technology. Sterling Corp has already signed the contract. They're sending someone to transfer the money to finance today." I looked at the bright red company seal on the contract. I was stunned. It looked exactly like Julian Sterling's company seal. Had Ethan really faked it to this extent, using a phony contract to deceive people? If discovered, this was illegal. Or did he actually have some background? What was really going on? Just then, a security guard rushed in, panting, President Ashton, there's a group of people outside. They say they're from Sterling Corporation." Victoria's face lit up with excitement. She immediately told the guard to let them in. The person in the lead was none other than Julian Sterling. Seeing me, Julian asked quietly, "Did they give you trouble?" "I brought people from the legal department specifically to help you." Victoria, however, was just excited. She hurried forward, extending her right hand with a smile. "You must be the representative from Sterling Corp, right? Are you here to discuss additional investment? This person next to you is just a fired employee. Pay him no mind." Julian's face was stern. He frowned slightly and didn't extend his hand. Victoria felt awkward. She held out the contract with one hand and pushed the flustered-looking Ethan forward with the other. "You must recognize him, surely. He's the young master of your corporation. He signed a $10 million contract with our company. You must know about it." Julian looked at the bright red seal on the contract, then at Ethan. His eyes suddenly widened in fury. "The young master of our corporation? Victoria Ashton, are you blind? This shifty-eyed guy is my family's driver's son, and he dares to forge the company seal? Legal department, press charges, sue him into oblivion. Chapter 4. As the grim-faced Sterling legal team surrounded Ethan, Victoria, still reeling from the bombshell Julian had dropped, finally snapped back to reality. Breathing rapidly, she cried out, "What nonsense are you talking about? Ethan is the sole Sterling heir. How dare you spout such rubbish in front of him?" Even now, she firmly believed in Ethan's identity. Suddenly, her gaze snapped towards me, sharp and accusing. "Aha, Sincere, I knew you two were whispering about something earlier. This is just an actor you hired, isn't he? Just to embarrass Ethan. How could you be so malicious?" I scoffed. "Victoria, you really are a fool." The other employees looked shocked and uncertain. Victoria was furious, the crease between her brows deepening. "You can't possibly believe him, can you? The Sterling heir is famously private. No real photos have ever been released. Some people will try anything to scam others. I saw Ethan get out of the Sterling family's exclusive car with my own eyes." She nudged Ethan. "Ethan, don't worry. I won't let anyone impersonating you get away with it." But Ethan shrank back, trembling all over, large beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. He stammered, Vicky, let it go. Jay just kicked them out." Julian had heard enough. He took out his phone and made a call. "You, get over here right now with the car." Victoria, convinced Julian was bluffing, smirked triumphantly. "Still putting on a show? Stop acting. Ethan might be generous, but that doesn't mean his family is. If Mr. Sterling Sr. finds out about this, skinning you alive wouldn't be excessive." Ethan's face turned deathly pale. He quickly covered Victoria's mouth. His eyes darted around, and then he suddenly said, "Vicky, my stomach hurts. Can you take me to the hospital?" I knew he was pretending to be sick to escape. I immediately blocked his path. "Leaving so soon, young Master Miller?" I sneered. "Let me escort you." I grabbed his arm forcefully and pulled him towards the elevator. Victoria rushed after us. Julian, though not understanding my plan, followed as well. The other employees secretly peeked from the windows and railings, curious to see how things would unfold. As soon as we reached the ground floor, the Sterling family limousine pulled up to the entrance. Seeing Julian, the driver called out loudly, "Young master, what are your orders?" Victoria, assuming the driver was addressing Ethan, whom I was still holding, immediately said, "Your young master is sick, quick. Take him to the hospital." She shot me a triumphant, venomous glare. "Sincere, you've crossed Ethan. You're dead meat." The driver hurried over, but went straight to Julian, asking humbly, "Young master, what's wrong? Should I inform Mr. Sterling Sr.?" Chapter 5. Julian just gave a cold smirk. "Walter Miller, you've got some nerve letting your son impersonate me." The driver, Walter Miller, looked confused and glanced towards Victoria Ethan. The moment he saw Ethan, his eyes widened. The next second, he slapped Ethan hard across the face, his dark complexion flushing red with anger. Victoria, still not understanding, put out her hand to stop him, shouting abuse. "You're just a driver. How dare you hit your own master? Are you crazy?" Then she heard the driver yelling, "What damn master? You brat, what is going on here? Explain yourself." Seeing his own father had arrived, Ethan knew he couldn't hide it any longer. Without hesitation, he shifted the blame onto Victoria. "I didn't impersonate the young master. It was this woman. She kept pestering me, insisting I was the young master." Julian snorted. Victoria felt as though she was waking from a long dream, breaking out in a cold sweat. She stiffly turned her head, saw Julian's icy expression, and quickly looked away. Then she kicked Ethan, the boy she had cherished just yesterday. Her high heel was sharp. Caught off guard, Ethan was knocked to the ground, clutching his stomach, sweating profusely from the pain. Victoria looked stunned, not seeming to realize how hard she'd kicked him. She instinctively started to ask if he was okay, but forced herself to stop. "Ethan Miller," she said coldly, "you were the one hinting you were part of the Sterling family tree. Now you're trying to implicate me?" Turning to Julian, she forced a smile. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Sterling. I was also deceived by this brat," I sneered inwardly. Victoria's face was still delicate and beautiful, but now etched with calculation. Sure enough, faced with money and power, the darling she'd held so dear yesterday could be trampled underfoot today without a second thought. I was grateful I'd seen her true colors now. I had cut my losses just in time. Ethan knew only Julian could save him now. He called out weakly, "Cousin, let me explain. It was this woman. It was her." Julian crossed his arms, looking down at Ethan groaning on the ground, and said coldly, "Don't call me cousin. We're barely related, distant relatives at best. If your father hadn't come to our family for help back then, asking my family to give yours a livelihood, you wouldn't even be alive today. And now you dare run around scamming people under my name? Fine. Just fine. I'll tell my dad about this." As Julian turned to leave, I moved to follow him. Victoria seemed dazed for a moment, then her gaze suddenly became determined. She grabbed my arm. I turned around. She gave an embarrassed smile. "Sincere," she said, using my old nickname manipulatively. "Why didn't you tell me sooner that you knew the Sterling heir? Look at all the misunderstandings this caused. I've reflected on my actions, and I truly wronged you recently. But flattering Ethan, I was just trying to help our company go public quickly, so we could have a better life, right? There won't be any more misunderstandings between us. Sincere. Come back. Just like before, you'll still be my VP. And after the company goes public, I'll return to being a homemaker, have a child for you, okay?" Chapter 6. Sincere. How those two syllables used to make my heart flutter. Now they just made me sick. Since when did she learn to lie without blushing? There was a time when she was pure and bright. I took a deep breath. "No need, President Ashton. I've already accepted a position at another company." Victoria froze. Julian immediately slung an arm around my shoulder like we were old buddies. I've already decided to make Sincere our company's vice president. Victoria Ashton, I hear you secured your first round of funding. Too bad. As long as I'm around, your company will never go public. Victoria's face turned deathly pale. The IPO she obsessed over, the goal she'd stop at nothing to achieve, her dream shattered overnight. It must be painful. I felt a sliver of satisfaction. After news spread that Victoria had offended the sterling heir, all her investors pulled out. In an instant, her company suffered immense damage. Worse still, without my patents, many projects ground to a halt, production stopped, orders piled up, and suppliers and clients started demanding answers. Watching her years of hard work crumble, Victoria sent me over 100 messages in just a few days, begging for forgiveness, asking to meet. But I was busy with Annie's bone marrow transplant and recovery. I had no time for her. I blocked and deleted all her contact information. In the blink of an eye, the surgery was done. Everything went smoothly. Annie's broken finger was also treated. The doctor said although the treatment was a bit late, with proper rehabilitation she might regain full function. One day I went out to get hot water for my sister. Carrying the thermos back, I saw a familiar figure sitting by her bedside. The slender, graceful back. I recognized it immediately. It was Victoria. Instantly my heart pounded. Why was she here? Was she going to hurt Annie? I put down the thermos and ran over, protectively pulling Annie into my arms, wary. Victoria was noticeably thinner, her cheeks hollowed, dark circles under her eyes, her lips pale. Ever since the company grew past 20 employees, she'd worn full makeup every single day. I hadn't seen her look this plain in years.
Seeing my alarm, her eyes lit up slightly and she let out a small laugh.
What, are you afraid of me? What could I possibly do to Annie? Her tone was light and casual, as if nothing had happened. The calmer she seemed, the more unsettling it felt. Annie trembled in my arms, clearly remembering the pain Victoria had inflicted. Seeing my silence, Victoria didn't get annoyed. She just picked up a Barbie doll set from the floor and offered it to Annie. I came to see Annie. I heard the surgery was successful, congratulations. Before I could refuse, Annie shook her head firmly, her voice trembling. You're a cruel woman, get out, I won't help you steal my brother's files, Chapter 7. Her motive exposed, Victoria showed no sign of panic, just smiled. Annie, how can you say something so unpleasant? We're family. How is it stealing? It's borrowing. My face was like stone. Victoria Ashton, don't even think you can get anything from me. We finished long ago, Victoria gave a ferocious grimace. Sincere, don't forget we haven't gotten the divorce finalized yet. What good does my bankruptcy do you? You'll have to shoulder the debt too, I laughed, even more sarcastically. Have you forgotten too, Victoria? When we got married, I signed a prenuptial agreement stating all marital assets would belong to you. I was afraid you'd be at a disadvantage later. How deeply I had loved her back then, even planning everything to protect her. But the vows of eternal love, the deep affection, it all ended in a complete mess. Victoria trembled all over, seeming to remember. Her eyes suddenly reddened. She murmured, Sincere. We were so good together once. How did we end up here? If you come back now, we can still turn things around. I promise I'll never make the same mistake again. Again. She was actually thinking about a next time. I didn't want to talk to her anymore. I reached out and pressed the emergency call button to have security remove this trespasser. After that, Victoria tried coming back a few more times, taking advantage of the fact that Annie couldn't easily be moved while recovering. But after being harshly driven away several times, she realized I wouldn't possibly go back and stop trying to reason with me. Soon, Annie recovered and could finally go home. I moved with her into the spacious employee apartment Sterling Corp provided for me in a good location, and I threw myself wholeheartedly into my new job. Thanks to my hard work, the company's revenue soared. At every meeting, Julian praised me lavishly. Seeing my life getting back on track, I felt incredibly content. Until one day, arriving at work, I noticed everyone staring at me silently, keeping a wide berth. Puzzled, I quickened my pace into the company building. In the lobby, Victoria's parents, Arthur and Eleanor Ashton, were making a scene. One held a banner, the other a megaphone, crying loudly, "Sincere Clark, get out here, you heartless man, forgetting loyalty for profit, abandoning the wife who stood by you. Is this the kind of person your company hires?" Julian stood nearby, arms crossed, his gaze heavy. Seeing me, he sighed deeply. Security guards tried to pull the elderly couple away. They just started shouting louder, "Security is hitting us, is there no justice?" I was completely at a loss. Finally, someone called the police, and Arthur and Eleanor Ashton left resentfully. Julian called me into his office to talk. I lowered my head, my vision momentarily blurring. I knew large corporations had rules. An incident causing such significant negative impact on the company's image. Getting fired would be a light punishment. Before Julian could speak, I apologized first. "I'm sorry, this is all my fault." Julian looked surprised, then his shoulders relaxed and he chuckled softly. "Why so nervous? Sterling Corp won't be affected by something this small. I called you in because I want you to come with me to the airport this afternoon to pick someone up." Chapter 8. Julian sounded very mysterious, a teasing expression on his face. I didn't quite understand, but I nodded in agreement. That afternoon, on the way to the airport, Julian suddenly told me to look at my phone. He had forwarded me a link to a news interview. In the video, Victoria was crying her eyes out, implying in everything she said that I was a corporate spy who had worked for Sterling Corp specifically to ruin her company. The online comment section was filled with outrage. "OMG, this scumbag is shameless. The poor woman worked so hard, her company was finally about to go public, and he stabbed her in the back, ladies. Keep your eyes peeled. How can such a scumbag be thriving? Ladies, let's find out who he is, dox him, show him what we're made of." I pressed my lips together, my brow furrowed deeply. Julian asked, "Do you need me to have the PR department handle this for you?" I shook my head sincerely. "Thank you, but I'll handle it myself." As I spoke, I uploaded the file. I had already prepared evidence of Victoria's affair with Ethan, and how she'd cast me aside for him to my social media accounts as a response. Truthfully, I had anticipated something like this. "Don't thank me," Julian said with a smile. "Actually, the reason I've been helping you, well, I was asked to." Just then, we arrived at the airport. Among the deplaning passengers, one beautiful figure stood out. Dark hair, a chic designer outfit, she looked elegant and refined, with a small, strikingly beautiful face. Julian raised his hand and called out, "Over here, the person you've been thinking about. I brought her for you." I stood there, stunned. The beautiful woman gradually approached me. She tilted her head slightly and asked, "Sincere, aren't you going to say hello?" I held my head, trying desperately to place her. A woman this stunning, I should remember her. And yet, I drew a complete blank. Seeing my look of non-recognition, the woman shrugged, a sad look in her eyes. "I can't believe you've forgotten me. That really hurts." Her words sent a pang through my chest. Julian bumped her shoulder playfully. "Oh, come on. You used to be such an emo kid. Who would recognize you now you went abroad all these years and actually learned to change your image, huh? Looking quite ladylike." Julian introduced us. "This is my cousin, Isabel Fairchild. She went to the same university as you, probably a junior in your department." Emo kid, that sparked a vague memory. There was someone like that. Once on the library rooftop, I saw her crying. Her smoky eye makeup was smudged all over her face. When she looked up, she startled me. I handed her a tissue and tried to calm her down. I later found out she was my junior and had been crying because another emo kid had dumped her. Worried she might do something drastic, I kept an eye out for her and often offered words of comfort when I saw her around campus. We'd occasionally exchange greetings if we bumped into each other. But after graduation, I never saw her again. I hadn't realized she'd gone abroad. Remembering this, a slight smile touched my lips. "Isabel, hello. Isabel huffed slightly and got into the car with a touch of pride. On the way back, Julian insisted on sitting up front, leaving Isabel and me to chat in the back. I felt awkward, not knowing what to do with my hands. Isabel rested her chin on her hand, gazing out the window. Weren't you planning to study abroad back then? Chapter 9. Suddenly, the soft question reached my ears, light as a cloud.
I almost thought I'd imagined it.
Until she switched hands supporting her chin. If you don't want to talk about it, forget it. I was planning to, I said quickly. When my parents passed away, leaving my infant sister, I wanted to escape, go abroad. But my girlfriend at the time convinced me otherwise, so I decided to stay to raise Annie. Isabel snorted. Some girlfriend, more like a bloodsucker. You had a government scholarship, you could have had a great future, and look where you ended up, kicked out. Her words were a bit harsh. Julian frowned from the front seat. Isabel, watch your tone. You were the one begging me to recruit him for the company. What's with this attitude? I stared at Isabel in stunned disbelief. Why did she care so much about me? The tips of Isabel's ears turned slightly red. I just didn't want to see talent go to waste, she mumbled. Thank you, I said sincerely. Her ears turned even redder. After we got back to the company, Julian deliberately kept me back. She's just shy, he explained. Back then, you were like a light to her. Cheesy, right? She argued with my aunt about going abroad, even knelt for a whole day and night, saying she wanted to chase after you, her light. Then she found out you got married. She didn't dare come back and face it. Whenever she had the chance, she'd ask about you. Recently, when she heard you were having a tough time, she got anxious and begged me to rescue you. My heart trembled with an indescribably complex feeling. In some unknown corner of the world, someone had loved me for so many years. I checked my phone. My social media post refuting Victoria's claims had gone viral. Victoria's scheme was exposed and her reputation hit rock bottom. Within a couple of days, her already collapsing company officially declared bankruptcy. Her assets were auctioned off, leaving her saddled with significant debt. I let out a long breath. It was her own just desserts, I supposed. I thought that from then on, Victoria and I would be like two parallel lines, never intersecting again. But when I went to pick Annie up from school that evening, her teacher looked stunned. Her sister-in-law picked her up during class this afternoon, she said. Didn't you know? Panic surged through me. I immediately told Julian and Isabel. They looked grave and prepared to help me search for her. Just then, I received a text from an unknown number. Your sister is with me. If you want her to live, give me $10 million. $10 million? Where would I get that kind of money? My mind was in turmoil. Then I remembered my patents. Their combined value was close to that amount. My heart sank. It really was Victoria. As I was about to make arrangements to sell the patents, Isabel stopped me. There's no need to sell your patents, she said, her eyes intense, a sharp glint in them. I can lend you the money. Let's just see, she added fiercely, if she has what it takes to take Isabel Fairchild's money. Chapter 10. Seeing her serious expression, I nodded in agreement. After I transferred the money, the response came quickly. Your sister is walking along the main highway. She must be scared. Go find her quickly. Frantic, I rushed out immediately. Sure enough, I found Annie walking along the side of the road, her clothes dusty, looking utterly pitiful. I took her straight to the hospital for a checkup. Fortunately, apart from being terrified, she had no major injuries. The police gave me even better news. They had caught Victoria nearby before she could escape. However, they shook their heads. No account under Victoria Ashton's name received the transfer. She must have an accomplice, but she refuses to talk. Because Annie was so young and traumatized, they asked me to talk to her about what happened. She looked dazed and terrified. The bad woman said brother was sick, so I went with her. Then she blindfolded me with a cloth strip. I couldn't see anything. But I heard a familiar voice. It was that Ethan Miller's voice. I couldn't believe Victoria was still working with Ethan. Wasn't getting double-crossed by him once enough? I immediately informed the police. They were overjoyed with this lead. The subsequent investigation revealed that Ethan had truly gone to extremes. He had used Victoria's ID to take out loans from every online lender imaginable. When Victoria learned that Ethan had double-crossed her and run off with all the money, she went ballistic and immediately revealed his possible hiding places. The police caught Ethan as he was trying to flee. It turned out that facing charges filed by Julian for forging the company's seal and being completely broke, Ethan feared prison. He'd approached Victoria, proposing they cooperate on one last big score before he disappeared. In the end, neither of them could escape justice. I watched the proceedings in court. That same day, the final divorce papers came through. I handed the divorce certificate to Victoria. Wearing handcuffs, her heart like dead ashes, her eyes dull and defeated, Victoria looked at the document. Suddenly, tears streamed down her face, wetting the paper. Her cries grew louder until she was sobbing uncontrollably. Sincere, I regret it so much. If time could turn back, I would definitely have lived a good life with you, treated Annie well. My expression remained indifferent, completely unmoved. It's not that you admit you were wrong, Victoria. It's just that your scheme failed, and you know there's no way to turn things around now. Walking out of the courthouse, the sunlight felt incredibly warm on my skin. Isabel was standing there, holding Annie's hand, waiting for me. I walked over to them. Annie took my hand with one hand, still holding Isabel's with the other. I noticed the tips of Isabel's ears quietly turning red. She whispered, "Don't you think we look like a family of three?" I smiled. Happiness, it turned out, was right here all along. End.